January to March. I did not get to see it in the theater because it was only 9 days, 900 theaters across the nation. It was November, way in the beginning. Usually you see a Christmas film the day after Thanksgiving, and of course I went to go see it and it was gone. So it was actually a flop at the box office. Did not get real popular until cable purchased it. They started doing the 24-hour loop. Now it's the #1 Christmas movie and a cult classic. So you can watch it any time of the year. Nobody thinks you're a weirdo for doing it. It all started in the 70s with Bob Clark. He's the director. He was a B-grade horror film director. If you want to catch his movies, he did Black Christmas, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, and Murder by Decree, which is a Sherlock Holmes film. And he said he was listening to the radio. The Gene Shepard radio show came on. That was a regular show out in New York City. And he would tell stories about growing up in Hammond, Indiana. Bob fell in love with this radio show. Also picked up his book, In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash. And then in 1973, he decided he wanted to make this movie. He asked Gene Shepard to write him a script based on the Red Ryder BB gun. And then he ran it straight to Warner Brothers, and immediately Warner Brothers said, "You're a B-grade horror film director." Absolutely not. They would not touch this film. They didn't believe he could pull it off. He asked for 10 years. Warner Brothers Canada, Warner Brothers, then he'd ask Paramount, then he'd ask Warner Brothers again. It was not working. Nobody would fund this film. It's in the 80s now. He decides, okay, I'm making this movie, so I'm going to trick Warner Brothers into making it. And what he decided to do was take on another film that Warner Brothers wanted made, and he was going to turn it into a blockbuster hit. They'd ask him for a sequel, and then he'd have his leverage for this movie. You guys may have seen it. It's called Porky's. Do you guys know American Pie? Do you know Porky's? Okay, American Pie is the American Pie of the 80s. It actually got 2 thumbs down by Siskel and Ebert. I personally think it's a pretty funny movie myself. What he did was he released it at midnight on college campuses. Became a major cash cow. Blockbuster hit. Warner Brothers wants Porky's 2 now, and he said, yeah, I'll do it, but you gotta let me do A Christmas Story first. So, hooray, Porky's, it worked. It did work. Christmas Story is actually brought to you by Porky's. Didn't know that. Now they're mad. They only give him $2.5 million because they told him no for 10 years, and he tricked him into it. $2.5 million is not a lot of money for a movie. Now he calls Gene Shepard, says, meet me in Hammond, Indiana, because that's where the story took place. They're going to look for places to film there first. But when they get there, it's in the 80s. Vinyl siding and strip malls are real popular. And it costs way too much money to make it look 1940s. They don't want to spend the budget on that. So they scratched that idea. Higbee's Downtown Cleveland was why the film came here. That's the department store you saw in the film. Now you can play blackjack and slot machines in it. It's our Horseshoe Casino. It does have the original chandeliers in there and those Art Deco pillars, so you can get a little bit of a gist of what it looked like. And this Christmas, if you come back here, they're going to decorate those storefront windows just like Higbee's used to. Because they did do that for real here in Cleveland. Now, Higbee's found out about the movie because they had written letters to major department stores throughout the Midwest, and this is basically what the letter said. We want to make a Christmas movie in your department store. We need you to keep your decorations up from January to March. And also, we have children in this film. We have to have you close at 6 o'clock at night. Now, we're going to get these kids all jacked up on sugar and get a bunch of strangers, let them run crazy throughout your department store and film this Christmas movie. And Higbee's was like, oh, yeah, we'll do it. So they were the only ones that responded. So Bob and Gene didn't have a choice but to go to Higbee's. So they're coming here, figuring it's a dump, and they walked in and saw exactly what you guys saw in film. It was captivating. They want to film there really bad. President Higbee said, we'll do everything you ask, but it's a family-run company, so you have to stay a family film. So they had to rewrite one line in the script. Any idea?
Oh, fudge.
Yep. Because it was the other mother of all 4-letter swear words that was originally written in there. That one word gives it an R rating, believe it or not. Just that one word changes a whole movie. Kids can't see a Christmas movie then, so why would you even make it? So they changed it to Oh Fudge. It's one of the most popular lines in the film. It's also funnier when you write it that way. They say, okay, it's a go. Higbee's is all right with everything. Downtown says, we're going to leave up our decorations. You can do the parade scene. So now they need to look for a house. And they knew wherever there were steel mills, they'd find the house in the neighborhood they needed. And there's a whole valley of them behind the house here. You can't see them right now because of the leaves on the trees. They just followed that valley, drove around randomly, entered this neighborhood coming down Raleigh Avenue. They said immediately, and I'm sure just like when you guys were driving in, it's like, oh, there it is. This house looks different from the rest of the homes on the street. The colors, the big wraparound porch. What was great was the bonus of the steel mills as a backdrop, and they could block off the traffic real cheap and easy. They needed cheap, and the neighborhood looked 1940s. And it still does. It really hasn't changed a whole lot. The man who owned this house, he was over at the bar. They just went over there and had a drink with him, told him what they wanted. He didn't believe him because that didn't happen here, especially on West 11th, but in Cleveland, Ohio either. And he didn't believe him, so they just wrote him a check for $20,000 to leave for 90 days. That guy ran over here and packed his bags, so. We got all our locations. Now it's the cast we need to get. The first old man wasn't Darren McGavin, it was Jack Nicholson. And he just got done doing The Shining. And have you all seen that? Remember in there, the little kid? Remember he was doing that? Well, so did Gene Shepard, and he said no red rum to Red Ryder. He would not take that. He hand chose Darren McGavin himself, and he said, that's my old man. He also was a big star for Kolchak, the Night Stalker, back then. $2 million he got for the movie. We only had 2.5, so now we're really down to a low budget. Melinda Dillon was the mom in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Great mom figure. They hand chose her to be the mom in this one. Peter Billingsley was Messy Marvin. He's the Hershey chocolate commercial kid. And Barbara Billingsley, Mrs. Cleaver from Leave It to Beaver. That is her nephew. He came from an entertainment background. He was only 11 years old. They knew he could handle this big part of Ralphie. Ian Petrella tried out, and Bob just told him jokes. And he got picked for his laugh. So that's how he got the part. Now they come here to film first, but it wasn't snowing yet. So they go downtown, they do the Higbee scenes, and they do the parade scene. Now in Higbee's, when you saw the kids screaming and crying going down Santa's Mountain, it was because it was 30 feet high and they weren't allowed to practice. That was all done in the first take. So what you saw was actually for real. And then the older gentleman that had the hat and the beard, he's at the bottom of Santa's Mountain when Ralphie and Randy ran up. And he said, this is the end, the beginning's back there. That's Gene Shepard, the writer. So now you know what he looks like. He's also the narrator, so that was the voice on the radio. They come back here, they're ready to go, but there is no snow because in 1983 we didn't have any snow. It was too cold in Cleveland to snow. It was only about 10 degrees above zero. So they had to pay for that. That wasn't figured in the budget. It's January. It should be snowing here in Cleveland, Ohio. That was the fire department that made it. It was all fire foam and bubbles. And then the icicles, they just sprayed the trees with water. And then when you saw the storm, that was instant mashed potato flakes. So all the snow is just Hollywood magic. None of it's real. Randy fell 2 doors down that way. All blackboard scenes were out back. Ralphie almost shot his eye out. Oh, filmed in the doorway coming down the long porch, the leg lamps being delivered, and Ralphie was soap poisoned, went flying. And then my one that I love is when the old man's across the street over there by the museum, and then the family's in the front window. He's telling them to adjust the leg lamp, and then you have the neighbor. His name is Sweet. He runs up and he starts poking fun at the old man. That neighbor's Bob Clark, the director. And that part was all done on impulse. He did not change his clothes to 1940. Check out his outfit. He has jeans on, a Cheektowaga, New York firefighter's jacket on, and a Miami Dolphins stocking cap. And they weren't playing yet, so big mover. Miss Shields, she was 8 months pregnant. They patted her down so you couldn't tell. She lived in Toronto. She tells Bob Clark, I can't come and do the Flick gets his tongue stuck on the flagpole scene or the classroom scenes. She didn't want to have her baby here. And he said, that's all right. You guys got some snow. We're running out of money. So he takes everybody up there. That's where they do the Flick gets his tongue stuck on the flagpole scene. And that's St. Catharines, Ontario. It's Victoria Schoolyard. And it was a PVC pipe, had 2 holes in it. When Flick stuck his tongue here, they just turned the vacuum on. So it was stuck. It just was nice. And then Bowling Chop Suey Palace was a bowling alley front in Chinatown in Toronto. They just unlit the W so it said Bowling. And you'll see it's a bowling sign. And you'll be like, how come I never saw that? So they released the movie, like I said. Now it was a flop. Now it's the #1 Christmas movie, cult classic. It's what brought you guys here. And Brian Jones is the man that made it so that we could come in here. He lives in San Diego. He's my boss. And in early 2000, this wasn't what he wanted to do. He actually was in the Navy. He wanted to be a pilot, but he couldn't pass the eye exam. And he was a fan of the movie, just like everybody else is here. And his family thought, oh, let's build him a major award. So they built him a leg lamp and a crate and shipped it to the base in San Diego. Brian said his buddies were standing around when he opened it, and they all wanted one. So he started building leg lamps in his living room, and he built so many, he started the Red Ryder Leg Lamp Company on eBay. And 2 years later, this house was up for sale on eBay. One bid for $99,900. In San Diego, that's a great deal. And Brian tells these guys, stop the bidding. I will buy your house right now for $150,000. So he bought it sight unseen, comes to Cleveland, finds out it's worth $32,000, and then opens the door and finds out it's condemned inside. So he was taken, and he took it all in stride. He said, if I build it, I hope they come. And it took him 2 years, $240,000. And they came. It was Thanksgiving 2006 we opened. We had 4,500 people here. We've had over 250,000 since then, just 25,000 last December. And it's the 30th anniversary in November. And we're having the cast come back. They'll be at the Renaissance. There's a huge convention going on. December 7th, if you run, we have a Ralphie run. It's a 10K from here to the Higbee building and back. And they're gonna be wearing bunny suits and lampshades and all that. So come, just check our website. There's all kinds of fun stuff going on through the whole month. Now you're allowed to touch everything, get under the sink, get your picture taken. I got hats you can put on. I got a BB gun over there, bowling ball. Upstairs I have Lifebuoy soap. Do what you want. I also have a decoder pin. The sewing room is where Ralphie looked out and the old man was pulling up, and also when he saw the snow in the morning. That's the room that he looked out of. And then there's the boys' room too. So just have fun. And if you have any questions, just come up and ask. And number one thing is have fun.
Thank you.